as sure as I am to get at least 1 ounce of vagina, I have your number, and you're going down.
Kind of regal staff. For the rest of the month,
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Next time on Chris Chan. Next time on.
Telling them the latest Sonichu news.
Hello, my little interns and employees, and Yasai's little thieves. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are back again with the Chris Chan's Horrifying History, made by Turkey Tom. Shout out to them for making a whole documentary, which, I'll be honest, is very detailed. Anyway, hon, you got anything to say?
Yeah, this is Abomination. This is just, I hate all of it.
If you haven't seen part 1, there'll be a link to it in the description below. And we'll probably have a pop-up here at one point when I find out how to do that.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, last time a whole bunch of stuff happened. I'm not giving a recap. But, he gives Sonic fans a bad name. Pretty much. So let's go. Link starter.
Version with rage. When you say things like that, it just makes you sound like you're looking for someone to P.S. I think it's rather amusing how you complain of these people defiling you. Yes, many posts are ridiculous, but you have defiled Mary Lee Walsh and our wonderful security officers who were simply doing their job.
Yeah, asshole.
Me and lied about it. You need to stop with this.
Yeah, no, this is not.
The whole world
This is
against
weird.
you and start taking some responsibility for once. Example: it's wrong to hate these people when you broke the rule by soliciting/loitering. Hey, at least they're doing their job, and I support that. In many instances during the general story, there are moments where we can sympathize.
Why
with
you
Chris,
gotta have
but
all
this
these
certainly
good
is not
Sonic
one of
games
them.
in the back?
He continues to email her, blaming everything on ED and claiming he's the resistance against the alien dominators.
Oh, that's what you worried about?
Worst of all, he begins defending
I like
her
Sonic
drawing
Adventure,
of
what can I say?
CWC.jpg, saying, as for the drawing itself, I've realized that it was done not only out of inspired fantasy, angst against ED and love for you, but also a major release for my crazy mixed up hormones. If I didn't have the foresight to put my pent up frustrations and feelings in the form of something,
Homie, you're in your mid-20s.
allowing me to release my bottled up frustrations in a more positive yet not so politically correct and not physically hurting others method.
Also,
So
they
not only is
always
he
they
blameless
also
for
say
the
they
actual
masturbate on a
drawing,
regular
it's actually
basis.
a good thing he did.
So
He should be
They
thanked
have a
for
bunch
it,
of sex.
because if it
Sorry,
weren't
they have a
for
bunch
cheating
of
for cookies,
dolls.
He might have raped her
Yeah,
or something.
so
I don't know
there's
exactly what's
no,
being implied. What a thing to admit to
like,
a girl you're
built-up
supposedly in
sex
love with.
thing. That's
He
for
follows a
people
son
that
that
have,
claims
like,
that he's suffering way more than she is to
not
get her to
done
pity
it
him,
at all.
which does not work as intended. I can't stress enough how disrespectful it is that he keeps acting like it's somehow ED's fault he drew part of his friend. If that wasn't bad enough, his next email was him complaining to her that she brought the page up again, describing the drawing as a little dirty detail they should both forget about, and that in giving it so much attention, she made his month stressful. He also reiterated his lack of regret for drawing.
I actually enjoy.
Understated in the previous
like,
unaware of how the off with the following statement.
No.
Although I do understand your feelings, and I can only respect your wish of staying away from you. Sob, sob. My heart still cries for you. I'll always be
Don't try to
with
hate
you.
Jesus.
I will always
Sob,
love you,
sob.
Megan Schroeder. In order to display how contrite he is, he edits
Hello?
ED once again, creating a gallery of images called
Senpai
You Know What? I
noticed
Hate
me.
Me Too, consisting exclusively
Senpai,
of drawings from Sonic
please
Youth
notice
and Chris
me.
being beat up or hurt in some
Am
way.
I wrong?
This
Does
was
it not
an
sound
effective
like
strategy as a month later, Chris and Megan shared their last email correspondence, with Megan saying she wasn't interested in any more gifts from Chris. And just like that, Chris's most worthwhile acquaintance is alienated because he couldn't resist drawing himself fingering her and putting it up online.
What?
Being baptized in the month of May, Chris earns himself a permanent ban from the game place for reasons such as
Guys,
scaring the kids he played card
I
games
have
with,
to say,
taking his
right,
consoles with him
us
into the
as
store and hogging
VTubers,
the TV with them,
we have
singing
not
Britney
safe
Spears
for work
during
art made of
games,
us,
among
right?
other things.
Yeah,
He
but
tried to
also,
But we
you
tend to
know,
ask
appeal to
permission
ban along
of
with
the
his
other
parents to no
VTuber.
avail, as
It's
we
usually
later
collapse.
replaced
That's
Mike
the
with
main
his call
thing.
Yeah.
from them. Much later, he had this to say about Mike. He's hated my guts after multiple times borrowing the store's HD TV for console gameplay. And in subtle retaliation, I hand wrote on a cardboard box, Michael loves the F out of Mary Lee
Like,
Walsh.
it's barely
I
like,
tried to protect
we never
myself
get
when he
this
found it.
out of
Weeks
the blue.
later, after having wrote it, I even convinced myself that the F meant fiddlesticks.
But even
It
then,
originally
this
meant
person's
foot.
not a content
That was
creator.
why the son of a bitch kicked me out of the game place permanently.
I mean,
After
they think
years
they
of
are.
loyal volunteer service in the
I'm talking about the
Pokemon
friend.
TCG League, I had apologized numerously before, but he's still the pig-headed, stubborn he was back then. Out of all of the isms Chris had expressed up until that point, a dislike of the Jewish people was certainly a new one. With
Oh,
both
for
Megan and the
fuck's sake,
gameplay now
he's a
gone from his
Nazi
life,
too?
He was in the darkest place he'd ever been.
Sorry, they're a Nazi
To escape
too?
to and no one to vent to anymore, Chris takes to YouTube to confront
I'm gonna have to censor that word.
surrounding community over the
But,
article on
you know,
him,
there's
blaming
not
them
much
for his
ways
fallout
you
with
can
Megan,
describe
all the
someone
while
that
very
does that.
explicitly publicizing that the girl in the drawing he made was her, which most of the time did not know. The video was titled Quickie's Second Message, and it was a
I don't like
certified
making fun of
golden age
someone's
YouTube
weight, but
classic.
see with that
In it,
shirt?
Chris coins terms like pedo
It's
forks,
it's
trying
it's
to
his
defend
fashion.
himself
It's
from
not his
pedophile
weight.
accusations, as well
No,
as
see that
proclaiming his love
shirt?
for China. Not
Wait,
just
go back.
country, but his
What?
stilted way of saying vagina. Conclusively, he threatens to never release the
Wait.
7th issue of Sonichu if the ED page wasn't promptly.
Did he just say he loves...
Oh no.
Hold on.
Dramatica and its surrounding community over the article on him, blaming them for his fallout with Megan, all the while very explicitly publicizing that the girl in the drawing he made was her, which most of the time did not know. The video was titled Quickie's Second Message, and it was a certified golden age of YouTube classic. In it, Chris coins terms like pedo forks when trying to defend himself from pedophile accusations, as well as proclaiming his love for China, not the country, but his stilted way of saying vagina. Conclusively, he threatens to never release the 7th issue of Sonichu if the ED page wasn't promptly taken down. A little while later, Chris would post another video requesting that people send hate mail to the creator of the page, Jason. In the middle of August, a now octogenarian Bob would make an extremely depressing addition to his letter to future Chris, saying, "Dear Christian, at this time in life, you and Sonichu need a quest and purpose in life.
What
Let
the
Sonichu become
fuck?
a champion for autistic persons everywhere, and continually defeat the perils of autism. Sonichu could become the spokesperson for autistic persons with an ongoing
I fucking hope not.
after chapter or good deeds on the internet. He could become the spokesperson from now on. You and Sonichu could become famous worldwide." Jesus, I forgot how stupid this story is. In a few ways, you know,
He
Bob
did.
was right.
Actually,
Chris
did.
would become famous worldwide, just not for being a good role model for autists. During the same period, Chris would establish contact with another girl through emails. Her name was Blanca, and she took the initiative in emailing him to show her OC character, Jiggly Amy, a hybrid between Jigglypuff and Amy from Sonic. Of course, they were
that character
lying and
actually looks
trolling,
cute,
and
though.
of course, Chris fell
And
for it,
fits,
hook,
'cause they're both
line,
pink.
and sinker.
Yeah.
And within a single day, he was telling her he was interested in a relationship. Not only that, but he also asked her opinions on pornography and asked her to get on webcam with him. Mr. Chan was in
They
quite
were
the
just
hurry.
asking
After
for your
uploading even
opinion
more
on their
images of
OC,
Rose's
you
food
sick
gone
fuck.
naked to the ED article for no particular
I think
reason,
there
he does the
are
unthinkable
much.
and sends nudes to Blanca. For the sake of accuracy and journalistic integrity, I should make it clear that this wasn't exactly Blanca
see
he
as
sent
someone
nudes to. It was someone unrelated to the three
who
trolls
met their
behind the original
girlfriend
Blanca
for the
identity,
internet.
who took it upon
This
himself
makes
to
me
pose as her and
cringe.
ask him for nudes.
Yeah, no,
Chris
this is what
gracefully
is this what
replied.
people
I
think
should
how
also specify that
people
these
meet?
aren't irregular nudes,
Yeah,
but
this
a
is-
close-up picture of Chris's
Guys,
penis
I
with
will
a
say for
sexy
fact-
drawing, and pictures of Chris wearing
Ugh.
his pants. Chris's despair, who preemptively emailed his church to notify them of it. Blanca's MySpace page would have its About Me section edited to say, "Hello, I am a large, hairy, homosexual black man in a pickle costume. You love me. Pay no mind to my profile pictures. This is the real me." The message is followed by a picture of a
This
man
is
in a
who I
In
am.
Chris's email to his church, he says he was deceived and that Blanca was a troll, but that was just posturing on his part, as he would hang on to the obviously non-existent
So wait,
Blanca
was
for much
Blanca-
longer after this incident, claiming she was real and exchanging emails with the
Oh.
other Blanca accounts. It's
So
also
Blanca's
during this
just
rollercoaster of a month
trolling
that he briefly
afterwards.
entertains the
Blanca is
idea of
actually a
love
person
triangle
that's-
between him, Blanca,
wasn't
and another
trolling
troll that claimed to
originally.
be a Sarah Jackson.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately
after
for
the
Sarah,
messages
Chris
started
was
trolling.
Blanca, eventually drawing Sarah
Respect
getting
to
hit by a
Blanca.
truck in one of the later issues of Sonichu. The fallout of the nudes being sent was still going strong. as a
Stop
whole.
showing
Meanwhile, Chris
pictures
found
like
himself
that.
involved in yet another conflict with a troll.
They're gonna
This
show
one
anything,
called
but
Jimmy
you're gonna
Hill,
skip
who was
over
claiming to be the
things
original
if you
creator
keep on
and
skipping
IP
over it.
holder of Sonichu. Speaking of Sonichu, around the same time that the 7th edition of the comics were released online,
Oh my
Chris
god,
would
the
announce
7
that a video
Chaos
game was in the
Pokeballs.
works. He announced
I
it on
was
his
gonna
website,
think.
saying, "With the Sonichu franchise growing wildly with lots of energetic hype, I'm
And
ready
the
to take
Master
Sonichu
Balls in the
and my
middle.
world of Cookieville back to Nintendo of America and Sega
Back
of
to
America."
Nintendo- what?
And upon the unity in business between Nintendo, the company provided me with my second gaming system, the Game Boy, after my very first Commodore 64 computer.
What?
Sega, the company who
What?
introduced Sonic the Hedgehog, is not only my lifelong hero after the American Rabbit, but as the true role model icon I am proud to have
I
learned
don't-
some of my attitudes and beliefs from since 1991, and myself, Christian Weston Chandler,
See,
we will
they're
make
always look at me
Sonichu
now.
and Rosachu and their
I know
world
this would
seemed
not
more
work.
real than I was able to make them by myself with pen and markers in hand, and a vastly knowledgeable imagination. You won't be able to truly say you've caught them all.
The fact
until
that
you've caught
I was
original
in the
Sonichu
Sonic,
and Rosachu
like,
in a
fandom
quickly approved
around this time.
Nintendo/Sega Pokemon Lightning version.
And
I also started joining too, yeah.
I'm not that much older than you, but like,
available 493 Pokemon.
I'm glad
And have the
I
idea
never
for the video
interacted
game
with this
myself. If
individual.
I can swing that with Sega as
I
well,
somehow
an epic
skipped
tale
them
of my
too.
tragic adult life straight from my tortured heart and soul. I will bring the pain to the jerk-offs. I will kick Mary Lee Walsh into her cauldron to burn, as well as the other villains. And I will have support from my electric hedgehogs, my mother and father, my closest gal pals who I've grown to love, Megan Schroeder and Anna McLaren, to name
What?
a few.
They
Sparingly
both
in the
hate
game.
you
I plan
fucking
to have
moron!
this game alone go multi-console
What?
between Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 with downloadable content. And all this can come to fruition with your help, the populace of Sonichu, Rosachu, and Christian Chandler fans. All I ask for in minimum is to contact Nintendo of America and Sega of America by way of posting in their respective forums, sending them emails and highly
no.
recommended handwritten letters to both companies that you want Sonichu and that they should get in touch with me, Christian Weston Chandler.
You know how
via
Sonic
telephone
fans
or
think
snail
Sonic
mail or
06
in
the worst
person.
thing to
Both
happen in
companies have my information
2006?
in their computers,
It
as
was
I've written
this.
them a
It was
number of
this.
times in my life. In the wake of this catastrophe, a brief opportunity to find solace presented itself to Chris. First, his church got him in contact with a counselor, a particularly patient woman called Rocky, who began accompanying him from a distance through his misadventures. or whatever that was
Adrian!
worth. But that wasn't all.
They almost
Adrian.
had hope.
Emailing Chris
They,
for a
they
while
almost
now,
had
a girl
help.
named Vivian Gee. Despite being a girl, Chris never gave her his usual CWC treatment for a combination of reasons. She never sent pictures or indulged in his delusions about Sonichu. As a matter
Okay.
of fact, she was the one person who was always consistently realistic and
Who
bluntly
apparently
honest
always
about
writes in
Chris's
all
situation,
caps.
which scared him off like the plague, since he only wanted enablers to count on and naysayers to antagonize. While initially acting similar to the other trolls, this quickly gave way to a much more sincere and concerned attitude towards Chris. She was also deeply familiar with the Sonichu comics and held them in a kind of fascination, even making audiobook renditions of every single one of them.
Hold on,
In a
is this
strange way,
the,
during this period, Vivian was one of Chris's only friends, if you could call her that. On the day the
Is,
news released,
is
she
Vivian
emailed him
actually
trying to
his,
snap him out of his
therapist?
delusions. I don't know where to
I
begin. I'm
hope.
not even sure why I'm sending this to you. Listen to me. Listen. No one gives two shits. Your pictures are now all on the internet for everyone to see. Tons of celebrities have nudes and they don't care. They are way more popular than you'll ever be, so don't get your fucking panties in a bunch. There are no fans of Sonichu. Sonichu is a bastardization of properties that belong
Thank
to other
you.
people.
Wow.
The comic is pretty much a bastardization of your life. Sonichu will never get anywhere. Quit your dreams of Sonichu, the game, the comic merchandise, everything now. And if you still feel you need to be creative or whatever bullshit you say, make something completely original. Don't base it off your life. Don't base it off stuff that exists. Just make something completely new. If you quit Sonichu and start working on your real life harder, I'm sure you'll find success. If you stay in your deluded fantasy land, I don't know
Oh
what
yeah,
you'll
this is the
become. I've
therapist.
never tried when it comes
This
to
is a
women.
therapist,
Never.
by the way.
You can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. You have to make it happen. If you can't muster up the courage to do that, then you will never get a wife, let alone a girlfriend. There are places where single men and women go to. I'll let you find them on your own in your area. Take off that medallion. I can't stress this enough. If you do, it will signify your detachment from Sonichu and a brighter future. Forget about all those haters. They don't hate you. They're
Man,
trolling you.
I don't-
They want to see you become this way. Don't you understand? There's no
Oh my
reason
God,
for you
a
to get upset at
reasonable
them.
human
That's what
being
they
on the
want.
internet.
If they see you upset, defeated, angry, you're just giving them victory. Your latest comics is a retaliation as a result of that, and they love it. They don't view it as an attack, they view it as a victory. If you feel you can't do any of this, get a therapist. Get a real one. Ask your parents to send you to one. Do something about your life instead of bitch and draw comics about it. Chris, you've got a way to fall, and you can
Oh my
change
God.
that. This didn't even get a reply from Chris, so you can imagine how successful an attempt to help him this was.
'Cause Chris was
Later
probably
on
crying
the
in
month,
the
Chris
corner.
goes back and forth between being Blanca and a new troll account called
No,
Panda and more images came out.
no.
I'm gonna draw you as
Sweet
an
love to
asshole.
his Officer Nasty doll. The Skype conversation of his with Panda, where they discussed, which was also leaked at this
Draw
time.
me,
From it, we can
fuckface.
glean that
See how
Chris
that
believes
goes.
Men have a limited amount of
Oh my God, oh my God.
Bring
the
it!
same way women have a limited amount of eggs. At this point, Chris was well aware that
This was
everything he
over
told anyone always ended up
20
on
years
TV,
ago at this
but since he
point.
wanted to keep
Damn,
lying
I
to
wish I
himself
was
and
around.
pretending
I would've
Blanca and
fucking-
Panda were real girls and not trolls, he started pretending everything was due to him being hacked. Early on in October,
I
the
would
trolls
throw
got him to
hands.
mail her a Sonichu medallion along with a heart
I can
letter.
tell.
After receiving the package on October 9th, it was instantly leaked online, prompting Chris to make a video doing damage control, saying that Blanca wasn't the one behind this, but random trolls that lived in her area and intercepted the package. He also lied about having gotten the medallion back to make himself look like less of a loser. This lie is dispelled on October 20th when a video is uploaded of the trolls cutting the medallion up, putting it in a pickle jar, beating it with a hammer, and finally burning it all together. A day later, Blanca broke up with
That's
Chris,
kinda cruel.
supposedly over the photo of him wearing his mom's underwear that the pickle man tricked him into taking. The same
What?
day, he releases an update declaration that he has reached his lowest low. A few days later, he was pushed into doing a Q&A with the people from his IRC chat in an attempt to get him in better spirits, though this wasn't very effective. After years of claiming to be lonely, depressed,
I don't think the
upset,
trolls
and
are
other
helping.
negative emotions, this is the first time Chris genuinely seemed completely despondent, without the motivation to keep up his regular spiel. The only mention-worthy thing from the Q&A is that he pretends he's met a girl in real life, claiming he's kissed her and lost his virginity to her. He quickly forgot he told this lie and resumed his lamentations over the loss of Blanca, while Vivian Guy was still trying to prove to him that she wasn't another troll. The next 2 months
I
are
bet
notably
she was from
uneventful compared
Canada,
to the rest
too.
of the year. Other than a few Q&As in his IRC chat and some conversations with Panda, right near the year's end, we have the founding of 2 online forums, the Sonichu Girls Fan Club and Gays for Sonichu. It would still be a while before he said anything about the latter, but just days after Sonichu Girls popped up, Chris was already posting on it himself, introducing himself, and once again, reigniting his sweetheart search. His introductory post read, "Yes, it's your man of the way more than an hour. I've read my accent/voice was a favorited feature. Blush. I rarely thought my voice was that alluring, although in my honest opinion, it sounds like a direct match to Sonic the Hedgehog. Anywhere from the classic and Sonic X shows and all games, starting from Sonic Adventure.
How
and
dare you.
I can have a Frank Sinatra or Bing Crosby flavor."
This motherfucker thinks they sound like
Yeah,
Jason
honestly,
Griffin?
That's
Are you-
fucking Jason?
I don't know why I'm still single either. Even my own mother finds me handsome. Oh, no. Aside from the understood fact, I feel that I'm truly in touch with my feminine side, to the point where I am capable of learning from that to better understand how to treat women in a caring, nurturing, positive way. Sometimes
Tell that to
I
your
wonder
friend you
between my
touched
caring
up, you sick
attitude and the
fuck.
lack of a sweetheart, if I was born the wrong gender. I would wonder what life would have been like if I'd actually been born a girl. But afterwards, I'd realize that I should
That's
still
fair.
appreciate being born a boy to gentle.
Oh,
God
that's the
gave me a
beginning.
package and I
That's the
signed for
beginning.
it. And while it is true, and I am not ashamed to admit it, that I've seen my fair share of
I mean,
I have
I'm not
learned how to
shaming
better
them
positively treat
for
a woman before,
that.
during and after the act. I
I
would
know.
definitely stay until she
But
woke
still.
up, and I would call
Yeah.
her back later to see how her day was.
I
And
know
would have put
it's
the
a
seat
bad
up, then back down when I
look
use the
for trans
restroom she
people.
would use later. I care more
It
about
really
every
is.
woman's
Yeah.
opinions than their
Extremely
body.
is.
On the flip side,
I
feel
am
discomfort
sorry, but
around
that-
men
that's-
because they can be such mean and cruel jerks. I should go on with what I detest about them, but I will not stoop to their level of cruelty. Also, I feel discomfort when shopping for underwear for myself. They do not need models pictured on the package. It grosses me out to see that thing. It's bad enough that I sometimes see my own when I look down, of which I don't feel as much discomfort, but the very sight of others is like kryptonite to me. It makes me feel like throwing up even when the image randomly pops up in my head. The amount of foreshadowing is tremendous, but the lack of self-awareness manages to be even more fantastic. He genuinely believes that the Sonichu Girls forum popped up organically, and beyond that, that there's a worldwide fan base out there somewhere. At this point,
Oh,
That's a
boy.
creepy
clarity
GIF
significantly
image right
died
there.
down, and with it, a lot more disorganized trolls appeared.
Mhm.
The only people left behind were stragglers interested in where this story would go next, and dedicated trolls who saw Chris's full potential and weren't keen on letting him slip away anytime soon. 2009 held exponentially worse things for Chris.
I remember
The year
trolls
started
back
out
in the
slow,
day
with
used to
Chris
be
doing very little besides
like
continuing to
actual-
do Sonic
actual
episodes
trolls.
and his correspondence with the
Like,
Sonic
they were
girls on
cruel
IRC,
back in the
which
day.
reality
Now
consisted
it's
of
just
multiple
like-
male trolls actively
It's
participating
dumb.
in group sex and a
Like,
severely
back in the
autistic
day, they
man in
were
his late 20s.
evil.
Honestly, the lengths
Yeah,
people
like-
will go to do it for the Vine are astounding, and sometimes funny, and sometimes pathetic. On the 5th of January, Chris is contacted via emails by none other than Shigeru Miyamoto,
What?
the game director
What?
behind most of Nintendo's biggest franchises. The troll behind this particular interaction was
troll.
Spy
Oh,
Cat,
okay.
who later became the central
I was gonna
troll in the
say,
Quickie
what
saga,
the
at least
fuck?
for a period. Chris fell for the Shigeru
Nintendo's
bit,
like,
especially since a few days prior to this email,
leave
Clyde was
Pikachu
already
alone,
preparing
you
the
sick
groundwork
fuck.
for it, emailing Chris as Takashi
Leave him
Tezuka,
alone.
the general producer for Animal Crossing, acting as
No
if he
wonder
wanted to feature
Sonic was trying to
Sonichu in the next
grab
game. The day
Pikachu
after the Shigeru
and,
email,
Sonic
already
Ultimate.
announcing that
He was
Sonic
trying to
Rose
save
would be in Animal
Pikachu.
Crossing. Clyde was multitasking the trolling of Chris, simultaneously
BLW.
multiple different characters. After establishing the connection with Nintendo, he began emailing Chris as Greg Mays, posing as another Nintendo
That's what Sonic and
employee that was in
Pikachu
charge
saw
of
in the
updating
light.
Sonichu
They
website
saw
with
Chris.
an appropriate redesign.
I bet you
of
it's actually a
Sonichu
meme, by the
Animal
way.
Crossing.
Oh, it
By
has
doing
to
this,
be.
he finessed the admin password for Chris's
If it's
site,
not and
prompted
anyone
him
wants to
into it,
make that a
changed the
meme,
password, and
please
locked
do
Chris
so.
out.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Sonichu fan base,
If it's already me, please send it.
A troll having found access to the database.
When did they
behind
suddenly get a
science.net.
southern accent?
It is temporarily shut down.
That's the
and,
voice the entire
You
time.
cannot change the password at
Oh.
the moment. Greg Mays. If you do not re-upload science.net, that's the way it was before you even started. I will come down at you. And my lawyer man from Nintendo, Jay-Z.
Wait.
Come down with his boy
Hold
from
on.
Nintendo and the boy.
I don't usually interrupt, but I gotta do.
Mr. Lawyer
I gotta do a quick comparison. What's the cousin's name?
Oh, Dursley.
Dursley?
Mm-hmm. Dursley.
Dudley. Okay, Dudley. Hold on, see if I can find the specific.
Oh my God, no, no.
Am I wrong?
That's so mean. That's so mean.
Right, but am I wrong?
No, you're not.
Tell me. Not making fun of the actor for Dudley, by the way. But
It's so mean.
but unfortunately, you got the Chris Chan look.
Damn it.
I'm sorry. The minute I saw that, I had to show it.
Sega. They gotta track you down.
His next email to Chris read as follows. It is
Please don't
I,
track me
Jason
down.
Hendrick Howell. If you ever want to see your beloved site restored, you must meet my demands. If you ever wish for me to hand over your beloved website, you must announce your homosexuality
What?
to YouTube. You must not reveal that I told you to do this. Otherwise, you will never see your site restored. You must detail how you've been kept in the closet for so long.
Do you
Your
think
search for a
that-
sweetheart is a cover-up, and why Sonichu is so
Do you think
gay.
Chris
You
Chan-
must be angry. Of course, you could always make a video proclaiming how
was
straight you are. Either
a
choice,
fan of
gay or
Ken
straight, which
Penders?
will it be? Chris quickly
Probably.
obliged.
I, Kristen Chandler, am straight.
That's YouTube.
By this
That's
didn't satisfy
YouTube.
Chandler's demands
That's
for a
not
longer video,
allowed.
wherein he explained why he was straight and totally not gay. Chris once again obliged.
So I tell you for sure and for true that I am straight. I can tell you why from my lifetime stories, but I'll tell it to you in just a few short minutes.
Hey, you
Anyway.
decide to wear a rainbow jumper while telling
So-
this?
Christian Weston Chandler,
No?
I am straight.
You went on for 10 minutes?
After this,
about
Clyde's
that?
next request is for Chris to upload a short video where he and his parents go over his accomplishments in life. That video would never be made. Instead, Chris's next upload was him denouncing the ED.
Well, yeah,
page,
you actually have to
once
have
again,
accomplishments
though what
in
led him
life.
to rekindle this beef is unknown. This lack of compliance with Clyde led to the site
Okay,
being
that
hacked
would be
once
cruel.
again, and in email, he admits
Yeah.
to Chris he isn't
But,
Jason Howell,
apparently
the
this
creator of
person's
the
an
ED
asshole,
page.
so
Chris
fuck 'em.
doesn't even quite absorb this information, replying
Or
with
do
threats
it.
instead about involving the police in the situation and praying
Actually
to
do it,
God and
because,
Jesus for Clyde's death.
according to the
Chris
video,
continues to refer to
they're
him as
not
Jason.
gay.
This led into a voicemail Chris
yeah,
left for the real Jason,
exactly.
who had no idea what was going on or why he was receiving it.
Saved message.
Oh, look, there's Dudley.
Jason Kendrick Howe, you bastard. Bastard. You hacked into everything. You have driven me so beyond the point I can't even describe it. You love me now, but I pray you dead.
What?
This would do nothing to stop all of Sonichu's web presence, along with Chris's personal accounts, from being constantly hacked and vandalized in all sorts of ways. Because of this, he seized communications with the Sonichu
Oh my
girls,
God, his
unknowingly
password was
ending their
Sonichu,
Chris's
wasn't
troll
it?
campaign. However, he only did this after sending all of them locks of his hair in
Oh,
plastic
oh
packets,
God,
along
it's his
with
hair,
certificates
okay.
of authenticity. You know, just in case someone tries to make
I
fake,
thought
freaky
the
hair
other
packages
worst
to
case
sell on eBay.
scenario.
He had to make sure people knew these were the
Oh
real deal.
God,
In the
no.
meantime,
Yeah.
over at the Shigeru email situation, because of all the hackings, Chris Chris's identity came into question, and to prove that it was actually him and not a troll, he made a video addressing Miyamoto and showing his driver's license on camera. Chris also made another update to declare that he continues to be straight as an arrow, despite what his more recent outgoing emails may claim. In order to prove his straightness, he claims to have a subscription to Playboy and stomps on the dildo he got from Adam and Eve. A couple of days later, in his IRC chat, when Clyde accuses him of wearing women's underwear, which Chris did do at least once, Chris inexplicably decides to reveal the fact that he has, and I quote, numbers of pairs of dirty, crapped briefs. Amidst his claims to loathe
I don't.
Wash your underwear, you sick fuck!
Mostly slipped out without my knowledge, in reference to his bowel movements. During this time, Chris hardly did anything besides staying in those IRC chats, interacting almost exclusively with trolls to a masochistic degree. Though a lot of it isn't worth getting into, as it's mostly just Chris voluntarily exposing
Guys,
himself
we were
to
gonna
verbal
watch
abuse.
Dragon
At
Ball
one point,
Evolution
Clyde
over
and Panda,
this.
Chris's quote-unquote
I don't know
girlfriend
that
at the
would
time,
be
cooperated,
better or
saying that Clyde
worse.
is
I feel
Panda
like
and that she's
I feel like
expecting
we
a
should have watched
child.
Dragon
I would
Ball
say that's
Evolution,
cruel
and
that
I
Chris
hate
hadn't flat out ignored
Dragon
multiple
Ball
people that told him
Evolution.
Panda was a
Mhm.
malicious troll because he did not believe
that
he
one
had a
is just,
girlfriend. If their objective was to freak Chris out, they didn't quite accomplish the goal because he reacted nonchalantly, even suggesting she should move in with Clyde since the child was going to need a father, going as far as to say Clyde had proven himself to be a good man after repenting for hacking the Sonashu site and being willing to let Panda and the child move into his house. I
What?
can barely believe the words coming out of my mouth right now. For the majority of January, Chris fluctuated between wholeheartedly believing that Nintendo representatives were in direct contact
So are
with
we
him to
anywhere
try and
near
set
the
up a
point
meeting
where
and
you
being
know
dubious of the
stuff?
whole thing and
No!
just admitting that the emails were meant to be
Okay.
the work of trolls. On the 22nd,
Well,
Chris
sorry,
told
we're
his boss
at the
he
very
missed the
beginning.
meeting and
Because
after
The stuff I saw now.
we are
offline,
30
which
minutes
caused people to
in
wonder if he managed to convince his
to the
parents to let him go
second
there. 5
part of
days
this,
later,
by
he
the
came
way.
back with another upload talking about how he'd spent the past few days with
Jesus.
Shigeru Miyamoto, which confirmed that Chris had just been lying. Soon after, he admits to Clyde over emails that this video was a lie, and later on, makes this same admission
Do you think their
publicly
uncle
in a new
also worked for
video.
Nintendo?
In it, he blames the deal falling apart on Reggie Fils-Aimé having an issue with a panty shot in Chris's PowerPoint presentation he made to pitch Sonichu, even implying that this meant Reggie was in some way opposed to heterosexuality. He also makes several references to suing
What?
them in court, as if that was a remote possibility, though it was probably Chris's
I don't think any Sonic
trying to make himself seem important enough to warrant
directors
lawsuits
have
from the
any
top
issue
brass of
with
Nintendo. A day
panty
later, Chris
shots.
took the video down, retracting the statement and
Considering,
apologizing for this
you
behavior,
know?
which I can only assume was some attempt to get back on Reggie and Shigeru's good graces. In a recorded conversation Chris had the same day, he mentions he often ponders what his life would look like if he was born a woman, saying that it would at least be better than his life was right now. It's during this time that another troll enters the fold, Blue Spike, a 13-year-old boy who used his high-pitched voice to pretend he was a girl called Julie, and this is possibly the most disturbing and horrible
where's
chapter
this one
of
going?
history, at least early on. While
man.
Clyde Cash stuck to tricking Chris into admitting
Should-
he was gay, which
see
is
the end of this?
relatively
Should we
harmless,
put,
Blue Spike went much further.
trigger
Initially,
warning?
the Julie LARP consisted of nothing but acting as a
Do
potential
we have to?
sweetheart.
That's
By the
Christian.
2nd of
I think we
February,
have
an
to.
audio would surface of Chris and Julie having what can only be described as furry phone sex, where
Oh,
Chris
God.
is Sonichu and Julie is a cat. I won't play the audio to spare you the psychological scarring that inevitably comes from it, but as Sonichu, Chris electrocutes Julie's genitals, seems to have a lactation fetish, and can be heard manipulating a plastic cup at the end of this hellish event. What's the plastic cup for, you might ask?
So,
Later on, Chris explains quite explicitly. I don't like to make a mess.
So I don't
when
need to
come,
say
I
the
have a
word
clean
on
plastic
YouTube.
cup by my side, and
Chris
I
is
just
a
make sure to
creeper?
put all of my semen in the cup there. After recycle, I rinse the
Aw,
cup and dispose of
man.
it. I recycle my own semen because, you know, yes, I do masturbate.
What?
I'm not ashamed to admit it, as a lot of guys, I'm sure, have done the same thing in their time.
recycles
Anyway,
what?
I recycle it, so that way I won't lose
What?
any unborn children. Then I can still have a good number of good semen. Keep maintaining it
recycles
while
the
recycling it. Though personally, I've been getting sick of swallowing my own, so lately I've been disposing of them. Where to begin? So Chris spends 20 minutes masturbating while in character as Sonichu, having phone sex with a 13-year-old boy, pretending to be an adult woman, pretending to be a cat furry. Just a few days later, it happened again, and this time, Blue Spike would notify other trolls that he'd be engaging in cyber sex with Chris, and they took this opportunity to make 4 calls with Bob, asking about Chris to try and cause Bob to walk in on it.
What are you doing? Nothing. Give me that crap. Now, what's going on?
Dad, will you get out of here?
No, I will not. People
just
tell me
said-
that
they
you're
just
about
sound
to
like
put
that.
yourself on YouTube.
What?
What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
I'm going to wake your mother up and find out?
No.
Then get out of here. I'm not telling you that. This is your trouble. Get away from that TV.
Fine.
Get away from the internet. I'm cutting it down right now.
Oh, man.
No.
Yes.
No.
You stop playing with your dill pickle right now. I tell you what.
I'm gonna shut this right down.
Yeehaw!
Yeah. I'm gonna tell your mama.
Don't wake your mother up. Don't bother
I'm
me.
from the West. I can make these jokes, guys. Don't worry.
wake your mother up. Don't bother
What?
me.
I'm from the West. I can make the guy. I'm right next to Texas right now. I can make the jokes, guys. Don't worry.
And I just don't give a shit. So.
While initially this wouldn't succeed, the trolls began claiming that Chris posted a YouTube video threatening to kill himself, which prompted Bob to run as fast as he could to where Chris was at, which was in the kitchen where the computer was. You can imagine how traumatic of a situation this was for
He was thinking
all
in the
parties
kitchen?
involved.
What?
Honestly, I understand that a lot of things that happened in the late 2000s and early 2010s only happened because the internet was a wildly different place.
Guys,
But this crosses multiple lines.
Don't masturbate
Trolling
in the
Chris
kitchen.
by telling him you're the original creator of Sonichu is one thing.
That's
But
where your
having
food's
cyberspace
made,
with
okay?
someone is mentally debilitated.
That's the reason why,
borders on
yeah.
Unspeakable. Besides, Blue
Also,
Spike
not with
eventually
a-
said he was having phones
not
with
with
Chris
someone
pretty much
that's
every night.
clearly
for
not
what?
of your
What was the
age.
point in doing that exactly? And where were this kid's parents? How can you be motivated to do that at just 13 years old? And how could the other trolls be okay with this kid simultaneously subjecting himself and Chris to this hell? All of this is
Because
beyond
trolls
understandable,
trolls
and I
are
don't know
fucking
the good
idiots. That's
explanation.
why.
Bob managed to spare himself from ever knowing the full extent of what was going on that night, as when he walked in, Chris instantly stopped what he was doing. Understandably, having his sleep disturbed, he was mad at Chris and delivered the line he's probably the most famous for, "Get away from the internet, I'm cutting it down right now," which earned him the nickname the Lumberjack. Days later, another audio of this same kind was leaked. All the while, Blue Spike continued to share his Skype conversations with Chris and everyone else. On the 20th of February, the results of another of Blue Spike's Julie antics became public. As some kind of private tantalizing display for her, Chris made love to his body pillow of Kimmy, filmed it, and emailed it to her. The video is 8 minutes long and it's available on YouTube and
Oh my
audio.
God,
I
it's
doubt
Zach
that anyone
people.
would be interested in suffering through it. It was originally uploaded to an adult website where it received over 3 million views. That's no small feat, seeing as I have a hard time cracking that number myself. If only Chris had the mind to use his autistic superpowers for good. But the abject cruelty is not over yet. In order to cover up the obviously deliberate leaking of Chris's
What
tape,
the
Julie claimed that the
fuck
leaker
is
was her abusive
happening?
older brother,
I
Max.
don't-
Immediately following this new development in the Julie canon, a new narrative was created. Max had kidnapped Julie and took her to the headquarters of the Miscreants, the name for the group of trolls that Blue Spike was a part of. What he was planning to do with her was not clear, but the conclusion was that in order to save her, Chris would have to drive to Cleveland, Ohio. This Herculean task was mostly
What?
discussed in his IRC chat with the trolls, though at this point the line was being blurred between trolls and people who interacted with Chris out of a genuine infatuation with him, even if coded in irony. While some people were all for pushing Chris to do this trip, whether because they thought it would amount to anything beyond an
I
inconvenience
shoulda
to
got
him, or that he
alcohol for
wouldn't do it
this.
at all and just pretend he
I-
did, or other people were becoming a tad more hesitant about this particular mission. The
I
drive
feel like
to
I need a
Ohio would be
drink.
7 hours long, as Chris had to drive 400 miles. This was a cost for
And I
consideration, since, as
would
you might have noticed, Chris is
400.
severely
No.
autistic and not
No,
keeping the
no,
street smart
no,
survivalist. If he were to encounter
Just to
some
be
serious
the
trouble along
creep
the way, he'd
that
certainly
drives
not be able to fend for himself like a
400
normal
miles
person.
to be
Additionally, an interstate car
inside
trip on
your
the
door.
highway is a very different beast than driving around your little hometown in your mom's car, which was the totality of Chris's
I
driving
don't-
experience, according to Bob himself. Another person with whom Chris discussed the trip to Cleveland, Ohio, was the co-founder of Sonichu Girls, Sarah May. In this conversation, Chris says, "I've been planning my trip to go to Cleveland to meet and escort to Virginia, Julie. I received
Well,
much
that's
support in the trip,
Virginia.
not only from my online
Mountain
fans,
Home.
including yourself, but also from
Take me
God,
home.
Jesus, and the spirits from my
You
aunt."
No,
As I touched
no.
her hand before they
It's
closed
like
the
you're going
casket.
insane right
Even
now.
the spirits from my past
What?
Western family members who were
It's like
buried
you're
in the
going
same
insane.
church, including my grandparents.
I
and my
feel like I'm going
great-grandparents.
insane.
I'm using money I got.
I'm
on
gonna
my
need those
birthday for the
chaos
trip.
emeralds in a bit,
I'm
hon.
leaving tomorrow morning. I have a roadmap
No.
for Eastern USA.
I need
directions
the-
to
give me-
Julie,
give me the
and
soul
from
emeralds
MapQuest.
at least.
I have set aside 6 changes of clothes, and I'm not informing my mother and father until the last minute with a note and photocopy of my printed directions and the portion of my roadmap.
Oh
with a
my
marked
God, they're
path.
bringing their PSP
Confidentially, I have
and their
about
DS. It must be a
$45 in my
very
bank,
serious
16
trip.
in my wallet.
I
My
know.
phone will be fully charged, and I have a freshly filled tank of gas. On the morning of the 26th of February, precisely at 5:30, which is the exact hour that Chris was born, he left his Ruckersville home to head for Ohio, ignoring his parents' concern that this was some kind of elaborate troll or to catch a predator sting operation. Upon waking up and finding the note he left behind, Bob
Could
and
you
Bob
imagine
notified
that
his
timeline?
Hold on.
report in fear that
So
he would
that
get himself
means-
killed on the trip.
Wait,
The ride to
did
Ohio
they
would be mostly
know?
uneventful, and when he was crossing state lines and passing a toll booth, Chris managed to lock himself out of his own car. Luckily,
They must
someone
have
else in the
knew
toll
if they
booth had
thought
simple
he
lights
could
he knew, then
to help Chris get back
If he
in the
could have been
car.
on
In a
Catch a
fateful
Predator.
coincidence, his other stop on his way to saving Julie was to get a hamburger at a restaurant called Sonic. Eventually, he made it to the random address given as Max and Julie's residence, but all he found was a beat-up
been
old
there.
house where an
Sonic's
old black
not really
lady
the best,
lived,
I'm not gonna
with
lie.
no sign
They
of
have
a
good
sweetheart
shakes,
or
though.
abusive brother.
Ah.
Fortunately, this trip was harmless for Chris, and after calling his parents, he headed back to Ruckersville, getting home at about 3 in the morning. Despite how much trouble he got in with his parents, who threatened to leave him homeless if he ever did anything like that again, and despite the money he wasted and the fact he was tricked into going there, Chris himself eventually came to hold quite the positive outlook on it, saying he enjoyed the sights as he drove. After his safe return, he had one last conversation with Blue Spike, where he relayed his story of the trip, while Blue Spike struggled to believe he actually went to Ohio. The conversation shows that Chris continued to be in the dark about Julie being completely fake, even after the
my
trip.
God.
Promptly, March began with his left foot. Someone from ED produced postcards with frames from Chris's tape with Kimmy and sent them to Bob, who took away Chris's ability to make videos, which is quite fair and should have been done a long time before it came to this. Just 2 days after this,
So
another
they sent it
absolute
to the
tragedy happens,
stepdad
also
or
due
the
to
real dad,
malevolent deeds
I
of Blue
guess?
Spike. On the 3rd
I
of
don't-
March, Chris gets in a call
Wait,
with
he
Julie,
actually-
Max, Clyde, and a few other people.
my
Yeah.
brain's
Stance
off
now
right
is that
now.
Max had control
Yeah,
over
they
Chris's
sent,
business account,
they
his
sent
Yahoo email,
pictures from
and
his
login
sex stuff
information of Sonichu
to the
and
dad.
Mosechu.com.
With a person
Clyde
or like a
tried to
doll?
sell his accounts on eBay and send
I
Julie
think
back
with a
to
doll.
Europe, which is where she came
Okay,
from
I was gonna
according to
say,
the lore.
what?
Yeah,
Max
was
gets
not with a
Chris to do his
person.
bidding. The particulars of this began mildly, having Chris declare Billy Mays, one of the other trolls, as the mayor of Quickville, and have himself imprisoned. However, things would go downhill in a way that every other troll didn't expect and weren't okay with. In the middle of this hour-long torture session, Max begins demanding that Chris either burn the Sonichu medallion or cut it up into pieces and introduce them into his butt. Throughout this entire ordeal, Blue Spike's psychopathic mean-spiritedness came off towards Chris as extremely off-putting,
So,
and the other
Blue
trolls
Spike isn't
intervened, telling him to
exactly-
stop what he was doing as it went way past any line imaginable. Blue Spike would
What's
follow it up with
how
telling
would
Chris
you
to
As a
burn his house
person.
down, which Chris immediately resisted against.
Well, they're
and the
also
other people in the
13.
call once again intervened. After all of that, Julie finally made an
I mean, it's
appearance,
not an
only to
excuse,
start
but,
telling Chris
like-
that she had something to tell him. Chris went along with it, only for Blue Spike to finally make the long overdue reveal, stating that all of this time, Chris had been having phone sex with a 13-year-old boy. Chris reluctantly absorbed the information, while the now fully revealed
Chris,
Blue
can you have a
Spike
seat?
accused him of being a pedophile, and that Chris Hansen was
Yeah.
now arrested. When Blue was about to start up another narrative about how Julie died in a wildfire, like many of Chris's other faux girlfriends, Clyde decides that enough is enough and chimes in an attempt to get Chris to understand what had just happened. He says, "Now you're going crazy, okay? We don't have to do the whole wildfire thing. Shut the hell up. Look, Chris, there are more things to life than your PS3 and whatever. Your whole internet life has been a lie. There are no Sonichu fans. Nobody gives two shits about you. The best thing you could do is go outside for the love of God, okay? Shut up, Blue Spike. He's been fooled so many times. What is this, the 9th time so far? You know how many people have told you this, that Blue Spike is a boy? I can't believe how many times. And you still believe.
Oh my God.
There are very
Oh,
few
so
moments
they've been
in
told on a
history as grueling
regular
as this one.
basis.
Thankfully, it seems Clyde's message got back to
What
Chris,
they probably
even
didn't
if just a
tell
little bit.
them
After
was
being ill
that
for a
they were
little while and
13.
asking for his fans to attack Blue Spike, Chris takes up contact with another girl named Emily, and on the 19th
Emily.
of March, he's chaperoned by his father for a date with Emily at the mall. Sure, she was also a troll who orchestrated the whole thing and planned ahead to wear a wire during the date to record it, but at least this time it would be in real life. The video of this incident is scant and Emily's face is obscured. However, we
I
have
don't-
audio of the entire thing.
I don't
From
wanna
it,
say
we learned
this
that the whole
anymore.
thing lasted for a little over an hour, and that though the date was
What
Chris's, it
the
got
f-
completely hijacked by
The fact that
Bob,
we're
who
not
began
near the
talking to
point where
Emily
you
way
know
more
this
than
stuff
Chris did.
yet.
The date ends when a man dressed up in a pickle costume arrives at their table and invites
It's
Emily to go to the
Pickle
Watchmen
Rick!
movie, which greatly disturbs and upsets Chris, while Bob is mostly just confused about the situation. After the date, he calls her up, but not before he
I feel
receives
bad for
hookers at
Bob.
his door, ordered by Clyde Cash. Later on in March, Chris uploads himself giving a tour of his house, as well as a video of him singing a song wherein he declares his love for farting. Chris also mentions Megan, but only to ask for trolls to stop bothering her. After the end of the Julie arc, Chris moves towards another potential sweetheart by the name of Ivy. He also pledges to leave YouTube forever, though just a week later he returns, announcing his new website. Shortly after this, he makes another video greeting Ivy, which is paired with yet another video, this time of him kissing Kimmy, the sex doll, with an image of Ivy taped to her face. The first half of April is more or less calm.
Oh, I
with
remember
Chris
back in the
uploading
day,
a few
YouTube
funny
let you
videos,
put
such
on
as this
anything
one
on the
where he pretends
internet.
to be some kind of
Pretty
Irish
much,
Easter bunny.
yeah.
By the 16th, the miscreants leaked 3 videos they obtained directly from Chris by pretending to be
What the
girls.
fuck?
One where he's drinking his own semen mixed with Fanta, one
Ugh,
where he's spanking his own
why
naked
Fanta?
ass, and lastly, one where
I
he's
don't
dancing
know.
around naked in
Ah,
the
again,
that's my
no.
question.
While
Why
absolutely
Fanta?
depressing, Chris takes these in stride as just a day
I love
later,
Fanta.
he uploads another video
Fanta.
kissing Ivy's face on Kimmy.
I think it's a
It's also in the
my
month
family
of April
thing,
that
accent
the
thing.
forgotten
I
Christian
like
and the
that,
Hedgehog
though.
Boys drop a comeback
Fanta.
album. Other than that, we have a potential
Sounds
marriage
good.
proposal for
It sounds
Ivy,
good.
and a couple of
It
other
actually
leaked
sounds really
videos
good
of
in the
Chris
tongue.
displaying his raw
Fanta.
strength to attract possible mates.
Yeah.
I have the power!
Alright, that I've seen
Now
before.
be watching the strong man lifting a very heavy office chair. Note, the chair weighs a grand number of pounds.
Ta-da!
Now we will be seeing
That's
the
kind of
strong man
pathetic
lifting
that
the same
they need to
chair,
use both
but
arms
with
to lift that
a
chair.
very heavy basket full of junk in the chair.
I was still a man from Nantucket!
As well as a video of him sprinting naked in his room, which I can't show you, but you can
Thank
imagine how
God.
graceful it is. One of this month's
Yeah.
highlights is a comic Chris drew for Ivy.
Stop showing this
His
image!
giant ding dong. Of course,
They
these
have
instances
to.
of trolling are much more lighthearted than what preceded them. When informed that a little girl called, bear with me here, their words not mine, Ching Chong stumbled across the
Oh,
videos
for
leaked
fuck's
of him
sake.
doing those egregious things, Chris felt compelled to explain himself, and so he did. In the couple of videos he posted, he says the things he did were normal and good, and Ivy, the person whom he admits was the reason at least one of the videos was made, is definitely a real girl and not a troll, and that they soon will meet up in real life and have sex, and it will be awesome. One of the videos got linked to the website Fark, where it got over 200,000 views. This landed him in the public eye of mainstream media. A few of his videos were being featured on a Boston radio station, while his admission to drinking his own semen was being discussed on an LA radio station. Chris Chan's fame had
What?
gone nationwide, but he had no idea. As while this was happening, he was too
Oh,
busy
no.
drawing a comic of himself marrying Ivy, as well as a few of himself, as Sonic, having explicit sex with a Sonic furry version of Ivy. He also attempts to put his autobiographical article on Wikipedia, but it gets taken down and he subsequently protests. By the 15th, his relationship with Ivy quietly ends as he takes down all of the videos mentioning her, and Clyde announces that they broke up. Later on, Clyde goes into detail about what caused the breakup. It was revealed during this time that Chris had gone to the police because of Josh and with Rocky. As previously stated, Chris kept mentioning going to the police, but I didn't think he'd actually do so, as that would entail explaining things to his parents. Also, Bob and Barb have always been extremely afraid of
I
the
can't keep
authorities.
track of
Bob
half
hid the
this
vast
shit.
majority of troll
I
material
can't
from
either.
Barb. The breaking point for Bob and
My-
Barb had been
my
Josh.
brain is
He had sold
breaking.
Chris a PSP with a non-existent feature for a higher price than a normal PSP. While Josh was scamming Chris scammed Josh back by giving him a bad check. Bob and Barb ended up agreeing to go to the police with Rocky to catch Josh and only Josh. They agreed only to discuss matters regarding Josh, as they were handling Clyde and the other trolls on their own terms. Taking advantage of the situation, Rocky blindsided Bob and Barb at the station by monopolizing and domineering the police's help. She pushed for the authorities to investigate all the trolls, and Ivy as well. Despite his parents' protests, Rocky
What?
went against their wishes and ignored their harbored anxiety. Needless to say, I was pretty pissed. While Bob and Barb and Josh continued their feud over a PSP, I broke up with Chris over his betrayal. Fun fact, this Josh character happens to be one of Chris's oldest acquaintances, having attended the same speech therapy classes as him during their childhood. While this was going on, Quickieville.com, Chris's site at the time, got hacked, and messages attacking Chris began being displayed on it. 4 days later, the site went down. and the
How
revelation
far are we
that
in right
Ivy
now?
was a troll prompted Chris to upload a video to his YouTube
1 hour,
channel saying
45
that from now
minutes.
on, he would only be taking real-life
20,
encounters with
15
women
more
as
minutes till we're done with
consideration
part
when it came to
2.
finding a sweetheart. Too little, too
We're only
late. A few
46
days later,
minutes into
his
the recording, huh?
confession finds its way to the,
Fuck.
at the time, infamous
Yeah.
Opie and Anthony show, which was nationally syndicated and one of the largest comedy shows in the U.S. It's unsure if Chris ever found out that this happened, but if he did, it certainly contributed to the delusions of grandeur he was already harboring. At the tail end of May, Chris tries to engage in his love quest on Craigslist, but his ad gets taken down for racism. In June, his YouTube account gets hacked, and the hackers
No
re-upload
shit.
a video where he admits to being gay, which he was coerced in the first place into making by Clyde. When Chris gets a hold of his account, he immediately deletes it and favorites multiple Britney Spears videos to prove how straight he is. Later on in the month, he uploads a song called
Yeah,
Don't
'cause
Trust
gay
Any
people
Homos
aren't
Over
allowed to
There,
write-
a spoof
like
of a
Britney
similarly
Spears,
named
right?
song from the Boondocks.
Exactly.
Hello, my name is Uncle Ruckus. No relation. I'm gonna sing y'all a song I just made up. It's called Don't Trust Any Homos Over There. Sing along if you know the words. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't trust any homos over there. leaving their homo stank in the air.
What the
Flappy,
Okay, so I know this show is real
homos with
because
the
I know
finger on the
I know
trigger.
I know the show.
Don't trust any homos over there.
Once again, in his attempt to attack gay people, he throws some racism in for good measure. Also, he appears not to know how to upload a video not recorded from his camera and is manually holding up a sign that says this video is audio only. Besides this, the month is pretty scarce of any salacious occurrences, other than Chris drinking his first ever alcoholic beverage, and a pretty strong one at that.
Really?
Meanwhile, possibly one of,
Isn't
if
it
not
like
the
26
best
by the
Chris
time
Falls
of
makes his
this?
debut in the latter half of June. Chan Sonichu CWC, better known as Liquid Chris. Despite sharing essentially
Liquid
no
Chris?
similarity with Chris
Is
Chan
Metal
besides
Gear
his last
Solid
name,
now? What
Liquid
the fuck
Chris decided
happened?
to make the account to claim that he was the real
Liquid!
CWC. In early July, he uploaded a video formally denouncing the original Chris Chan, whom we'll be calling Solid Chris whenever both him and Liquid are
Oh my
being
god,
discussed
it is actually
simultaneously.
Metal Gear
Initially,
Solid
Solid
reference.
Chris
Are you
chose
kidding
to
me?
Oh
avoid
my
this,
god,
either out of
no.
laziness or because
No.
Rocky,
Okay, I
the
guess you're
advisor
glad
from Chris,
I'm
helped
here
him
because I
avoid
can point
needless
at the
conflicts
Metal Gear
online.
Solid
At this
shit.
time, Larry Bundy Jr., or Guru Larry as his channel is called,
Oh, I've
conducted
heard
an
of that
interview with
person.
Chris and began uploading selective excerpts online. In this interview, Chris is decidedly uncooperative and not his usual energetic self, though it's unknown if this was accidental or done intentionally by Chris to appear as more of an unfazed diva who is used to being interviewed. Rocky's efforts, however effective they may have been at other moments, came up short on the 17th of July, when Chris uploaded multiple videos attacking random trolls, calling them the R word, which Chris previously denounced prior to this, and also telling them to keep themselves safe. The thing is, the people that Chris was targeting in these messages had already closed their accounts by the time the videos went up, so this was completely gratuitous. Because of the not exactly terms of service friendly rhetoric Chris was espousing, his channel was shortly terminated thereafter.
Good.
A day
That makes
later,
sense.
he makes a new channel called IBA Chandler, and he makes a post titled A Near Public Apology, where he tries to get forgiveness for his past actions of attacking those users. The real motivation for doing this was because his PSN kept being hacked, and he was trying to appear contrite to get it back. However, the trolls noticed that Chris wasn't wearing a Sonichu medallion in the video, which in Chris-chanism meant that he wasn't being sincere. After more videos of Chris drinking came out, a picture of Chris with a lady surfaces on the V-board of 4chan, though little is known of her or the precise context of this image.
She looks
Along with
uncomfortable.
this shift in demeanor, the Chris Chan classic
Yeah, for sure.
Rollin' and Trollin' comes out, which is widely seen as one of the more positive moments in this story.
Alright, we're coming to you live from Quickville today. We're over at the Quickville Pavilion. The Hedgehog Boys and Master Christian Mayor, they perform here every Friday night, and
Alright, yeah, they
it
do.
draws a crowd. It's very good, you know.
In it, Chris displays some self-awareness about the fact that he's an online phenomenon for being who he is, and plays into the theory that he had been a troll all along. Though it's evident he's just pretending, Chris tries his hardest to sound like a normal guy in his 20s, with a regular voice instead of his usual high-pitched register. And
Is
no
that what that
Sonichu
was supposed to be?
medallion on.
Was that
Even
supposed
if
to
he
be a
was coached into
regular
doing
voice?
this, which he most likely was, as this doesn't
Don't
really
know.
seem like an idea he'd come up with himself. The video shows that Chris is well aware he's an unusual guy, as he can approximate how an actual normal person behaves better than you
Is that
expect.
how-
For a
is that what
myriad
we're
of
calling
reasons,
him,
many
an
people see this
unusual
video
guy?
as the canon ending to Chris's story.
Apparently.
Little did he know
Not a
that this little
fucking
ruse of his
weirdo?
was playing right into Liquid Chris's campaign. A couple of days after Rollin' and Trollin', Chris uploaded another video dispelling it because a troll threatened to cut off his disability checks due to his claims to have a job and his LARP as a normal man. After Liquid Chris supposedly sold some Sonichu merchandise at an anime convention, Solid Chris decides enough is enough and makes a video addressing his counterpart. In it, he derides the fact that Sonichu merch being sold at the convention was made
Liquid
out of
isn't a
paper, when
counterpart
he,
to
the
Solid
true and
Snake.
honest Chris Chan, only ever makes
It's his
medallions out
brother.
of clay. As the
I don't-
embers of the
I don't
conflict
know.
against Liquid Chris slowly grew into a raging fire, Solid's battle to reclaim his PSN account from hackers raged on,
Like,
and he kept
I
being
don't
coerced
like
into making
the
humiliating
bat.
videos.
I know
One of
it's a
these
weird
videos,
thing
which
to
leaked
bring
the
up in a
V-board,
video,
contains Chris
but,
helping
like,
his PS3 while declaring
I
Sony
like
and
Metal
PlayStation
Gear.
the winners of the console
So
wars
if you're
against
gonna make a
Xbox and
character
Microsoft.
based on
Approaching
it,
the end
like,
of July, Solid Chris
at least
posted a
follow
video
the
of himself
lore?
playing more than a feeling in Guitar Hero.
I know
That's
it's
what
a-
you're worried about?
Liquid Chris
That's
with
what you
live
worried?
footage of himself
I
playing the
know,
same
but, like-
song, but on an acoustic guitar. People were taking Liquid Chris's side en masse to rile up Solid Chris, even making version versus
Solid.
Chad type meme images mocking the real Chris and acting as if Liquid Chris was the original one and the creator of Sonichu. This culminated in Solid Chris shaving his goatee in the aptly titled video. It took me weeks to perfect that goatee, but it will grow back, because for whatever reason that would prove that he is the authentic one, I guess? This isn't ever really explained, and of course it did nothing to sway the people swarming his his comment section saying Liquid Chris was
Apparently,
the real one.
they also don't know how to shave.
So Solid proceeded to challenge Liquid to a battle on SingStar, which, if you don't know, is a competitive karaoke game for PlayStation. For most of the first half of August, they were squaring off for a total of 5 rounds. In his entry for the 3rd round, Liquid Chris took advantage of the fact that Solid's online handle was IBA Chandler and decided to allege that his real name was Ian Brandon Anderson. This led every troll under the sun to instantly pack Solid's comment sections with mentions of Ian, which deeply irritated his narcissistic sensibilities. No matter how desecrated and disfigured the reputations and images of Quickie and Sonichu were, he wanted to be the center of the attention it got, regardless of whether it was negative or positive. In order to preserve himself, Solid went even as far as shedding his pride, pointing out that if Liquid Chris was the real one, he'd be a lot more challenged, and I'm paraphrasing here because Chris uses the R word to refer to himself.
That's disgusting.
In the video where he does this, he claims that Liquid Chris's real name is Jeff, while acting like his dad somehow
My
got in
name's
touch with
Jeff.
the task force to settle this matter once and for all. And that
That's
all
what I
Liquid
had to.
do
It
in
was
order
right
for Solid
there.
to call them off was
It
to
was
admit that
right
he
there.
wasn't the original creator of Sonichu. As you can imagine, this didn't
I
have very
got
much
my
of an
food,
effect,
by
as
the way,
Solid's
so
threats
I'm
were
just-
obviously unfounded.
That's
After
good,
Liquid's
honey.
fifth
You-
entry to the competition, Solid drops one of
Good
the
to know
most
that it
memorable
wasn't the
highlights of his
sadness
YouTube
of the
content,
Switch that was
succinctly
driving
dubbed
you nuts the last time we did
Chandler.
this.
And another thing,
Yeah, that was this. Just combined together, it just fucking sucked.
Brandon, something! I am Christian Weston Chandler! So get it through your damn fucking skull and call me the real name that God has been given to me! And the
Right.
thing
Except God didn't give it to you. You changed your name, dipshit.
You damn fucking bastard!
Apparently, he was deeply irritated that Liquid hadn't done the entire song but opted to just do a portion of it and then do commentary. Whenever he isn't comically raging about being called Ian Brandon Anderson, he's once again threatening Liquid with some type of unspecified legal action. Though it's a virtual certainty, Solid never actually went through the hassle of registering Sonic.
You mean legal action
very credible threat,
of
is
you
it? He also
taking
reiterates
Sonic
that the
and
medallion is made of Crayola model magic and
Pokemon
not
characters?
paper, which only signify how much importance he
Yeah, no,
attributes
I
to
mean-
the exact composition of the Sonichu artifacts. Like, it must be made of just the right combination of materials, or else it cannot be consecrated as true.
Pretty sure Sega and
a few days later, Solid Chris
Nintendo
posted another
could
video
still sue
saying
for,
all
I'm
of
not
the
gonna
same
lie.
things, but this time without the rages, probably due to some counseling from Rocky.
Probably,
who
to be
informed him that
honest.
Screaming and throwing tantrums like a 10-year-old doesn't do him any favors with the trolls.
Surprised they
While
didn't.
he's certainly not at his most likable, this month is punctuated with a post from Chris where he expresses his
Honestly,
disgust
they
and
probably saw these
disapproval of
videos
some
and they were
fan art
like,
sent him, which included
we
Guro.
ain't touching
It's a
this with like
category
a
of not safe for
pole.
work stuff that includes grotesque themes. And Chris specifies that the fan art
That's
of
fair.
Sonichu that was sent to him included pedophilia. Surprisingly, this has been one of the things that he's been the most consistent on over the years, despite the Blue Spike occurrence. He also claims to have the mind of a family man and compares himself to Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin, as if that was
Oh,
necessary
no.
to justify his opposition to drawn CP. Approaching the middle of August, the winner of the SingStar Challenge is to be declared based on the votes of 6 judges, and Liquid and Solid each get to pick 3. Most likely due to the influence exercised by trolls, one of Solid's judge picks chose Liquid, giving him the win by 4-2. Liquid uploads a video celebrating his win, and at this point, he's become extremely good at impersonating the real Chris's mannerisms and way of speaking. After a few days of silence, Chris decides to manifest himself, only to claim that the contest was never to decide who was the real Chris, but just for fun, obviously because he lost. Behind
What's
the scenes,
that?
Chris was
There's
furious
only
at the
one
gal pal
room for
who
one
begged
Chris and one of us
Liquid
has to go?
emailing her saying, "You know yourself after the
There's
extensive
my-
argument
Oh, I
you
agree.
defied the real
There's
deal.
my
Why did you finally
Yasai.
vote for that brown
There's my
imposter? I am
Yasai.
on an emotional edge right now, and I apologize.
Hey, when it
for
comes to
raising
Sonic
my voice
OVA
like
and
that.
CD
am
stuff,
pulling
I
your weight.
am
Please
great with
change
that.
your vote. I had
Hell
just
yeah.
dedicated 2 White Stripe songs for you during the
Faker.
recent KCWC
You're the
Light
fake
Everything Lunch
hedgehog,
Hour.
right?
Sigh. Stay safe. Christopher Christian W. Chandler. Unfortunately for Chris, votes couldn't be changed and the result was set in stone. For a while, he was noticeably affected by this, behaving a lot more irritable and vengeful towards people. Vivian Guy, who had been remarkably amicable to him in emails, would
Why,
once again
before
start
that,
giving
he
Chris's
was
negative attention for
completely
promoting
normal?
DVDs of her audiobooks of
Yeah.
Sonichu. He commented on a YouTube video of her saying, "And you, Vivian, I liked your book, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let you get away with that counterfeit law-breaking stunt." Christian W. Chandler.
I won't let
With
you.
Vivian with
Get
Get
away with
with
this!
Law-breaking, bro. On August 14th, Liquid Chris respectfully bows out of being an active Chris troll with the in-universe explanation that he would be focusing his endeavors on turning Sonichu into an acclaimed media franchise. This once again aggravated Solid to no end, as he would publish yet another diatribe screaming his personal information at the top of his lungs to prove he was the real him. This is also the source of the Curse Yehameha video played earlier, but we'll play it again right here just for good measure.
Please don't.
It appears that Chris takes the Cursed Yehameha much more seriously than everyone else did, as soon after delivering it, he becomes remorseful and fears that it was too great a punishment for Liquid, and decides to issue a retraction and forgive Chris for his past misdeeds. We stand a merciful king.
Oh no, I
As
shot a
previously
person.
mentioned,
Oh,
Bob
I
and
take it
Bart
back.
purposely decided to not involve
Oh
anyone
my
else in
god.
the troll situation,
We should
claiming that
make
they
that
were
as a
dealing with it
custom
on their own
blast
terms.
in the
However, this
Minecraft
was because
server.
they didn't want
The
anyone else
Cursed
finding anyone acting
Yehameha.
negligent in regards to their son's obvious special needs, but to an extent, it's also
Isn't that just
because
the
they
Black
didn't know how
Kamehameha,
bad it was,
technically?
most likely due to Chris downplaying
I
or
think
straight
so.
up not telling them about it. The Chandler family strategy, or lack
Oh my god,
thereof,
and
in
it's
the
actually
handle of
canon
trolls,
and
was compelled to change
because
after Bob
Goku
found out
Black.
Chris had uploaded 2 tours
Yeah.
of their house, which revealed where they lived. In emails, Chris said, "Because of my months-old mistake," referring to the house tour, "my mother took away my car keys, my driver's license, trapping me in the house that love built. But years later, chaos ensued." Sob. "Mom and Dad are both very
Control.
angry with me. I'll call my detective tomorrow." I don't know. You have in with the trolls. Please see if you can talk
What?
to them into helping me remove that footage off the internet.
You'll call your
I know they're
detective?
too damn stubborn, stupid, and cocky to help, but any
Batman!
point in hurricanes,
Batman!
feeling dizzy, I gotta get back to searching on YouTube for the similar videos and flagging them. Rally the good, loyal troops. Yet another major reason to take down that ED page, because they probably have all that shit on there as well. And all it took was one troll calling my house and telling my father about seeing a portion
reminds
of
me
his
about,
wall
like,
of
the
records
OG
and
song
pictures.
EXE
The same day,
creator.
Chris takes this concern to YouTube in quite the peaceful fashion.
Not even
The
deserve
Creeper?
Captain's log introduction,
Mhm.
because this is dead serious. The inside and outside tour I did a few
Because
months ago at
this
my
is
house,
dead
I'm not
serious.
here to-
I tell you what. That's why I said that Butters from South Park, his original voice at least. I tell you what. I know you shouldn't make fun of autistic people, but I'm also autistic, so that's okay.
I don't think it's
You
more of an
might have noticed
autistic
a
thing
strange
right now,
haircut in
at this
the middle of
point.
the video. That's
Oh, no,
because
I think
there
it's
is
a
full
fucking
uncut
crazy
version of
person
it,
thing.
which was leaked by Vivian Gee just a few days later after the upload. In this extended version, Bob walks in and begins explaining to Chris that the reason he's pissed off at him for exposing the house isn't just that it violates their privacy, but due to how filthy and unkempt their living conditions were due to the fact they were hoarders, the health department of Greene County could condemn the house to be demolished and they'd be evicted and left homeless.
Good idea to
Because
say
of
that
this
on
leak,
video,
along with their
dipshit.
previous deeds, Chris was furious at Vivian, expressing his wish that she suffers a heart attack and subsequently blocking her. Concomitantly, Chris reveals in emails that he had recently begun applying for retail jobs like Target and Walmart, probably in order to soothe his parents' qualms about how much time he spent on the internet. However, he's stressed out about potentially losing his disability checks.
God,
When he looked
could
for
you
a job,
imagine
Chris discovered
meeting
he really
Chris in
enjoyed wearing
Walmart?
sports bras, describing it as a guilty
Oh,
pleasure.
look at the
At the
wall,
same
that
time,
was
he'd
so
been using
sad,
comment
too.
sections to single that he was suffering from something like split
Do you wanna buy my
personality
Sonic
disorder, and that
2
his alter
CD?
was a homosexual, asking to come out of the closet.
I got a version of Sonic Adventure where you can play Sonic 2.
How he thought he had
Yeah,
DID,
probably-
which is a bad omen that his mental health
Hold
started
on,
deteriorating
hold on.
again. In the
Is
middle of
that a mod?
September, Chris finally registered Sonichu
Let's
as
find
his
out.
copyright property after around a decade of working on the project. He also puts up 2 of his Guitar Hero guitars for sale on eBay, which is a sign that he was either having to clear out his room or
Fuck,
that he
it
needed
is.
some money for whatever reason.
Oh my
Near the end of
God.
September,
It-
another of Chris's
Not the worst part is it looks pretty
leaked,
decent,
this one of him
too.
having a foursome, which included a black girl, signifying that he's overcoming his racial issues at last. Also,
Wait,
the girls with
Lethal
whom Chris is
Company?
enjoying himself are the members of his Guitar Hero band, according to
You
him.
can watch the
While
Cursed
September was
Yehameha
somewhat of
thing
a
on
more
TV.
quiet month as
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
was putting his nose to the grindstone as far as work on Sonichu was concerned, October was full of interactions with
Forces
trolls.
Adventure
On
2.
the first of the month, Barbara contracted colitis, and as soon as this news made it to Chris's online following, the telephone game turned that to
Skyrim.
AIDS, which upset Chris, prompting him to post it to YouTube in an attempt to dispel the AIDS
Fallout.
rumors, as well as to defend himself against allegations
Oh
that
my
he
God.
was gay for the umpteenth time. He also posts this comment under a clip of Megan from Family Guy. Megan has always looked good, and here she is really hot, even better than when she had her makeover. If Seth would let her turn 18, I'd be all over her sweet and breasts. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. This moment is not particularly important. I just wanted to share my pain with you guys, frankly. Moving on from here, we have a deranged video of Chris wigging out and breaking things in his room, as well as throwing them at the camera. This fit of rage was most likely prompted by his conflicts with Clyde Cash.
Well, like the star of a FNAF vid, look.
Threats and invitations to a real-life physical fight.
Like William Afton's just gonna appear at the side.
Blackmail by blowing smoke at Clyde, suggesting that he may have some kind of compromising picture of him and demanding that Clyde stop the trolling. Of course, Clyde calls his bluff, and nothing happens as predicted. In his attempts to be intimidating, Chris does some flexing of his massive guns, and even attempts to do 30 push-ups while listening to Eye of the Tiger. He does manage it, but it's noticeable that he set up the camera in such a way to conceal the fact that he had his knees on the ground the whole time, which made
No shit, look, your ass is on the ground.
Not easy enough considering he's grunting through the entire thing. During October, there's a brief return of the Liquid versus Solid conflict to fight for the heart of Casey, a mutual love interest of theirs. And the month closes with Solid Chris making a video addressed to her parents, saying how much of a better boyfriend he would be instead of Liquid. For context, Casey was Liquid Chris's real-life girlfriend. He was
kidding me? That's
trolling
cringe.
campaign and played along. After a 2-hour-long phone call with her retired Marine father, in which Solid is humiliated for being a narcissistic and entitled man-child, he uploaded Sonichu Special Number 4, in which he shoots Liquid Chris in the shins and gets together with Casey. This culminated in another call, this time between Casey and Solid Chris, that lasted for about a half an hour.
I don't even know what to say.
Casey's reiterating what her father said, which really puts Solid in distress. However, this distress doesn't hold a candle to how he gets.
So we're nowhere near even the stuff that you're.
Erupts, with Solid losing
you know.
every time he's referred to as Ian Brandon.
Is that like
Actually, Rex some of it, but they're getting more details than I knew.
An issue, but Liquid saying it
Part I know about, like,
my name is Christian.
Liquid calls him fat, which Solid strictly.
But the things I know about, like, you know, fully is not till
when Liquid says he and
like the
Casey
end.
made passionate love at Solid's house. At which point Solid decides to wake up Bob and Barb to get them to fight Liquid.
I wonder
for
what they
him.
did.
Mind you, this
I
took
think
place
they
the
end
middle
up
of
in
the night,
prison.
and this madman actually
I know you
woke
told
up
me
his
something like
parents
that.
to
I know why.
vicariously
I know
attack
why.
an internet troll for
Okay,
him.
we'll
The
find
We
that
still
out
got-
video.
with Casey
we have a
declaring she
like
will
2020
marry
to
Liquid
get to
Chris.
that.
One more call was made after this, and Casey continued to carpet bomb Solid Chris with the truth. She tells him he won't make it past 30, and that just like every other potential sweetheart before her, Chris will immediately forget about her as soon as she's gone, going back to his usual routine of playing video games and being a general man baby, while Chris does nothing but sigh. After Liquid and Casey's marriage, Chris actually did try and muster up some kind of genuine melancholy, even posting a video of himself doing his best to cry on camera. As Casey predicted, however, he was back to his usual self the day after. A little while after this, he shoots Vivian Guy an email with a very different tone.
Huh.
Now that I finally have peace of mind, I apologize for the past unformalities and emotional outbursts. and
Take a
past
shot every time
communications.
Chris
I have decided I will
apologizes.
fully approve your continued audiobook videos and sales, but in return, I ask
Legally
for
don't do
25%
that.
of all
Legally
the
don't
money
do that.
exchanged to
Legally
the
don't do
currency
that.
we have and will have made from all that.
Actually,
we've put
that's only a
together and
Twitch
sold,
thing.
as well as 2 copies of each CD and DVD of the audiobooks, and 2
Not to
of each
sue a
of the
thing.
additional
It's just thinking
merchandise
sue.
from the
Don't
audiobooks.
legally don't do it.
Send
It
Olive
is?
Branch of
Okay,
Peace
legally
and
don't do that.
well-thought
I will
response.
remove
Have a
this
good
part
and
from the
safe day,
video.
Miss Vivian. Initially, Vivian is doubtful that this
So we
small
do not
business
get in
act that
trouble.
Chris was putting on had anything behind it.
Because it seems
However,
reliable.
he
That's what
himself
we encouraged
said
it.
he
I don't want
didn't
to do that.
he'd have to do if he ever wanted to make Sonic
Ah.
do anything besides these schizophrenic doodles on his website. She began
Do
pressing him on
drugs,
emails,
kids. Do
asking him
drugs.
how he spent his time, telling him to get new pages of Sonic
Fine,
done
I'm
every
gonna
day,
cut it. It's
suggesting
fine.
new ways to market and promote it. It's actually impressive that someone actually put time and effort into trying to make Sonic into a
Why
thing,
are
because
they
despite Chris's
holding that
psychotic
banana
obsession
or
with
whatever that
inserting it
is
into
like
every
that?
facet of his life and clinging to
lightning.
it as his magnum opus, he was more than comfortable
That's
to let it
lightning?
just fester in obscurity. For the rest of 09,
Chris can't draw for
cooperated with
shit.
Vivian's efforts to whip him into something resembling an actually productive artist, even if he frequently failed. Another thing Vivian pushed him to do is start taking and responding to fan mail, even if most of the mail won't be coming from actual fans. Surprisingly, based on the mail from the first edition of the mailbag, most of the interactions were pretty positive towards Chris, even if occasionally trollish and ironic. Until the end of 2009, he would do around 30 mailbag entries, and this proved successful at keeping his following
Rawr.
engaged and interacting with the content. While things began running a bit more smoothly on the Sonichu end of the CWC operation, his YouTube was as erratic as ever. Upon Vivian's request, he posted himself doing parkour to promote Sonichu, except he calls it parquet and just does some light jogging. Also, due to some interactions from the mailbag,
Parquet.
Chris also brings to
Parquet.
attack the idea that Asperger's syndrome is in any way related to autism, and to this day it's not clear why
What?
he takes offense to that concept, as if people who suffer from Asperger's are somehow trying to attract attention away
What?
from autistic people. Autism
What?
is stolen valor. He
Is
takes
it
this seriously enough to write an
Asperger's?
entire
No, they're the
article
same
about
thing.
it.
They're the same
Yeah.
thing.
Day.
I was gonna say
It's just
that.
different. It's different
They're-
types. That's the thing.
They're on the same spectrum. What the fuck?
Personal opinions, and I apologize for all offensive remarks I'll be making in the statement. Asperger's is nothing at all like autism. I have stated this fact over and over in my replies to messages from people who tell me otherwise. I feel very sick and tired of hearing that false rumor that the two are anything to full similar. Firstly, I can verify that I was diagnosed with autism with papers in my parents' filing cabinets, and I quote, Mr. Chandler is a 22-year-old man with a history of developmental delays and autism. Despite these limitations, he seems to have been quite successful in maximizing his academic abilities. Despite a significant
Didn't he
delay
get
in language, he has
Didn't he
over
get
the years
kicked out of
developed
college?
relatively effective communication skills. And with that,
Yeah,
I have
about
not
high
only
school.
helped cultivate the first generation of autistic people, but I have gone beyond the Autistic Dreams Academy, communicatively and socially. Still,
Yeah,
I
no,
have trouble maintaining eye contact. My mentality is sometimes slow yet quick at other times. The people who first evaluated me ever even stated that I would never even make it to high school, much less even write his name. Take that and smoke it, oldest doctors. And those with Asperger's dare to try and take the shine and limelight away from us autistic people, not only with their social
What
flaws and
limelight,
such
you
possibly
demented
similar
fuck?
traits to autism, but to shun us autistics by being
Now it's
better
personal.
communicatively and mentally than us.
It
I have
is.
received a message from one
What
who
are they
dared
on
to call
about?
me normal in comparison to him. If anything, the Asperger people are and have been normal. They think
Oh,
they can
fuck
one-up
you.
even
Fuck
mass
you.
autism with the lack of social capability and their clumsiness and such. Those characteristics can be faked by them, who are most normal compared to us true autistic people. Even their title is flawed, Asperger's. It can be misconstrued into a most terrible cut of meat from any animal. Even something that
I
can
mean,
be
they did get rid of the
easy.
name
I have
Asperger's
fought
because
long
it
and
is
hard to
just,
make
you
a
know.
stand for the autistic people.
Yeah, 'cause
I
it
will
was
most
fucking
certainly
dumb.
not let these imposters steal the true original title of autistic from any of us. Victory over autism belongs only to us true autistic people. You would never expect a mentally disabled guy to find a way to be ableist, I guess, but Chris Chan has no limits. To add to his war against Asperger's, he creates an extra mailbag called Autism Mailbag, dedicated solely to
Morons
blowing
like
up
us
anyone
have
that
no
tries to
limits.
inform him on what Asperger's actually is. On the 9th, Chris makes a video
No.
complaining about how trolls bought up all the ad space on Wikipedia.
I would
a site created to
legitimately
document
beat the
all of his
fuck out of
adventures,
this
only
idiot.
to use them to display gay ads. This complaint only served to make the problem worse, as the gay ads that were on the
I gotta
website
cut
were
that,
removed, only to
but
be
I
replaced
would.
by more gay ads, along with images of pickles to terrorize Chris even further. Besides this, the video also has an
Why is
asking
Chris
for
so afraid of
1,000 euros
pickles?
from his European fans, and then pitching a Sonic
Case-
2-themed episode
in case
of
it
Family
turns
Guy to
Chris
Seth MacFarlane, who
homosexual.
some troll said was considering making an episode with
Mhm.
CWC in it. His pitch
Oh my God,
consisted
it's
of
a
an
pickle.
elaborate crossover that concluded in
Oh, for
CWC
fuck's
dating
sake.
Meg, and he was confident enough that Seth would watch the video that he left his phone number in the description, which obviously was exclusively used by trolls who wanted to harass him. And
Honestly,
never
I
used
would
by
hope Seth
to get
MacFarlane
this
would phone
deal of
them.
a lifetime together. In the midpoint
just
of the month,
rip-
Chris decided that the Hedgehog
So,
So,
Should've-
it's not
was enough for
confirmed,
him,
but I
and
think
he tried
Sonic
out
Boom
being a
actually
solo
referenced this
rapper.
guy.
His first song, called iPods Down and Listen Up.
Wait,
has
is that
him
who the
describing
fanboy's
himself
supposed to be?
non-consensually making
Yes!
love from the perspective of
That
an
makes
animal.
sense
Not
there.
kidding. Here are the lyrics. I tell you what, ladies, I have a game. Let's play Jungle Fever. I'm the manly tiger, you're the sleek, sexy panther. I pounce on you, you run away. I haven't missed, but I chase anyway. And we chase for a while, and then you wear
How
out.
about
You
Point
treat it like
Josh?
a gal. And then we pump
that's
until we'll have a
very-
little tiger
that's
camel
Predator.
tops. To top it all off, he finishes the song by
That's a
shouting
very
out
Predator
Viagra.
song,
A few
I'm
days
not gonna
later,
lie.
he posted
Uh-huh.
another rap, this time in full Juggalo garb, but this one isn't original and just a cover of an already existent song. The year closes with Chris expressing his discontent at the people managing the Wikipedia because they wouldn't allow him to edit it to his liking, rather than removing anything that wasn't saccharine Sonichu worship. The year of 2010
Chris
begins
also
with the ads
balding?
once again being replaced, this time with comics of Asperchu, a troll campaign designed to do to Sonichu what Chris did to Sonic and Pokemon. Copyright abuse and plagiarism. The tweaks made to the character in order to keep it original were also selected to maximize the amount of anger in Chris. The name of the character, Asperchu, is because he suffers from Asperger's. So if Chris were to accuse being derivative of the CWC extended universe, he would also be guilty of likening Asperger's to autism, which he would hate. With the success that Liquid had in infuriating Chris by imitating him, a combination of copying Chris with Asperger's was sure to be effective. The ads on the website even had depictions of Asperchu and Sonichu with some degree of homosexuality suggested, which ensured the CWC stamp of approval. Meanwhile, Chris quietly established contact with another girl, and though he tried to keep it private so the trolls wouldn't get to it, he couldn't help himself and began name-dropping her in his videos. In a lot of ways, this girl was Megan's successor, though her communications with Chris were a lot less cogent and lasted less as well. well. While Chris kept
Who in
pushing
the
for this
right
date
man
and
would
being a general
contact this
weirdo,
moron?
She kept herself at a safe distance. On the YouTube end of things, having a new
Trolls.
good-intentioned gal pal did nothing to calm his anger. As
True.
after a wiki is created for Asperchu to further liken it to Sonichu, Chris threatens to kill them with psychic powers. While these visible trolling stunts tried to be as
It's no
entertaining as
use.
possible,
It's no use.
Chris, the demeanor
Oh
of the
my
troll
God.
was not particularly malevolent. Fights between Chris and the creator of Asperchu,
Oh,
who
I
went by the
love you.
alias of Alec Benson Leary,
I love
was
you.
trying to do the same thing Vivian was doing, make Chris productive and care more about working on Sonichu
Hashtag
and not
couple
letting it
goals,
rot away.
guys.
On the 2nd
Hashtag
of
couple
March, Chris
goals.
took to his Twitter to say this. My father was
Hey,
at the hospital last
Chris.
night at 3 a.m. with a case of congestive
It's
heart
no
failure.
use.
He will be back out in a couple of days, but I have had a long, stressful day. I only got 4 hours of sleep.
I
will
might
resume
even
daily
clip just
updates
that
this
and put
week,
that on
redrawing on the last few
TikTok.
pages
I'm
of
not
book
gonna
10
lie.
are in the works, so Alec, his crew, and I can be on peaceful terms, and that we can all move on with better stories that are more canon to all things Sonichu and Rosachu.
Oh,
Currently, daily updates will
no.
mostly consist of mailbag answerings, bio page creations, captain's log updates, etc. I appreciate your loyalty and patience, and also thank yous go out to all who have sent me positive emails and U.S. mail letters, cards, and presents with opposite feelings towards the few who sent me offensive, graphically inappropriate fan art. In the updates that followed this announcement up, Chris said that Bob had made it through safely and was no longer in danger. However, if this event didn't have enough of
Okay.
an impact on Chris, what happened soon after definitely did. Because of an oversight while making
Okay,
his
I'll be
way
honest, I
victim
really don't
level,
give a
Chris
shit
accidentally
that their
left in the
parents-
full name of the girl who he had been interacting with, and the trolls picked up on it and immediately contacted her with all the defamatory information on Chris that the CWCpedia could offer. Her response was to tell him to get all of her information off of his things, and that if someone were to go after her and bother her, it'd be his fault. His reaction
would be.
was this.
God damn, another story when you try to hurt my friends and get them involved like you've been doing.
After some back and forth, as Chris tried to do the same thing he did with Megan and placate her just enough so that she'll overlook his blatant
I'm sending you to
Chris
Minecraft.
decides to send her a letter and once again invite her
You
out.
know,
I hate
you know what
this.
it's
I
like?
hate
It's
this.
like the
Sorry, I won't be able to
Minecraft,
make it.
like
Besides,
the
I wouldn't wanna
Markiplier
go
punch
if you
meme.
were going to be there. And I'm
Where
not going to
was-
next week because I don't want to deal with you. By the way, that
Can-
letter,
can
don't do
someone
that
put those
again,
two
ever.
together,
I
but
wasn't
flip
even
them?
impressed with your little gift. I
So
threw
you
it
can
away.
s-
Not only that, I was pissed when you said that we had been going out for a month and a half. First of all, I never agreed to anything of the sort. Second, I would never date you. You're not my type. Also,
Oh.
if you want me to stay safe,
So they
you need to
lied
leave
about
me alone
dating her.
from phone, email, and mail. I don't want to hear from you
Who
ever
would've
again.
thunk
Do
it?
you hear me? And who cares if you're a fucking acoustic virgin? I'd rather have my best friend's boyfriend take me first because I trust him than you. Besides, I'm asexual, so there's no hope for you, at least from me. Not only that, not even a cheap
He's
would
so
want your small
acoustic.
dick inside of her. Neither would I. Pretty aggressive as far as put downs go, but given how things went with Megan, it was probably for the best. Because of the compounded negative feelings, Chris quits the internet, only to come back in a day and a half to talk about Family Guy. Mind you, during
Also,
this
I'm
whole
pretty
time,
sure
little
she's
to no
fucking
work
her
was being done on
friend's,
Sonichu, which drives
boyfriend.
Vivian, who up until this point was trying her best to be supportive and helpful, into giving up on Chris and Sonichu. On emails, she says, obviously you don't give a shit anymore, so there's no point in
you're
managing
muted.
something you don't care about. You had weeks to update with anything.
I'm
You're
muted.
just playing video games and pretending you're actually
Yeah.
putting effort into something. You've shown zero intention of actually
You were
updating.
moving
A
your
week ago,
mouth,
you
but
said
you
might
weren't
update,
saying
but then you do
anything.
nothing. You
I
told
mean-
me
I
days ago you
mean-
would, and you
Ah,
still haven't done
okay.
anything. How hard
You
is
can
it to
see
do
my model's
anything?
very
You probably
easy to
spend like
eat.
5 hours
Yeah.
a day just watching TV and playing video games instead of actually doing anything productive. I'm still offering to take Sonichu off your hands. After this, their communication slowly died down and eventually stopped altogether. Through the month of June, Chris's drinking once again perked up as he began attending Fridays after 5, a kind of block party festival that takes place in Charlottesville. He's actually been cited multiple times attending it, sometimes dancing, sometimes
Was
just
Chris gonna
posing
become an
menacingly in his
alcoholic?
sports bra with the writings "Want Woman" emblazoned over it, and last but not least, mysteriously walking around with a hula hoop under his arm. An account of a sighting reads, he was wearing a bright orange sleeveless shirt with what looked like a beer logo on the back and holding a Budweiser aluminum bottle, a little minifan made to look like an iPod, and a hula hoop for some reason. Most importantly, he had a sort of basic attraction sign with him, nothing elaborate or directly sexual, but it said something like friendly and flirty man zone or something similar to that.
Oh, that's
And
not
with more
creepy at
smaller
all.
text under that I couldn't make out. He was sitting on the back grass part and left a few minutes.
Oh my
before
god, remember what the
was
Meg
over.
thing
I
reminded
would
me
love
of?
to catch Chris's
What?
attempt at using the hula hoop. I bet it
Lois
was
is
funny as
real.
hell.
Lois,
One of his
turn
attendants
around.
visits Fridays after 5, Chris goes to a bar and drinks by his lonesome until the brilliant idea of paying a visit to the game place crosses his mind. He instantly drives there while obviously under the influence and decides to try and take pictures of the manager, Mike, to use as a dartboard. That's the story that Chris told in this video about the incident anyway.
So
Because
they
according
all-
to Michael,
so they also
the
drink
police and an
drive
unnamed
and took
woman,
an
he
illegal
was taking
pictures on one.
not of Mike, but of his
Hmm.
daughter. Chris alludes to this himself as he admits that the police made him delete the pictures, and if they had just been pictures of Mike, there really wouldn't have been any reason for them to do so. Regardless of whether he went there for Mike or his daughter, Chris certainly went above and beyond the call of duty. After police were called on him for trespassing on private property, Chris tried to make a run for it, and on his way out, he tried to run Mike over twice, as well as the unnamed woman once. Of course, Chris's retelling renders this as Mike and the woman jumping on the hood of his car to make him look bad. When the police showed up, he still tried to drive away, but due to his very limited getaway driver skills, he was stopped by the cops. In their interrogation of him, he immediately breaks into a monologue about how internet trolls ruined his life. It's safe to say it didn't take very long for the cops to figure out that Chris was mentally challenged. They decided against arresting him, settling for having him delete the photos. Speaking of the trolls, Christian decides to one-up them. Instead of having his mediums of communication be hacked by them, he takes the initiative to infiltrate the trolls. At least that's what Chris believed. In actuality, the trolls set up a fake forum and made it look like it was their main hub for planning out the next attacks against Chris.
Oh my god.
Line and sinker, Chris made an account on the forum under the
They're playing 4D chess, son.
Followed with a true introductory post. My real name is Junior Jenkins.
You activated my trap card.
Behind me, Jinkies. Lol. I had a birthday party recently on the 16th of July, so now I'm 15. I couldn't celebrate it with my friends like I would have wanted to because I was hitchhiking my way to Ruckersville from Boston. I'm crashing at a house where I have some relatives there. They're the black sheep of the family, and they're not close within the same house. It is cool because they won't rat me out to my parents and siblings. Like I need another damn minute with those assholes who overlook me. And a better part, their house is across the street from Chrissy's house. Sadly though, the blinds to his bedroom are always closed, but I still get some sights of him and the family out of their house. I've arrived at my new home a few days ago on the 20th. I'll be spending my sophomore year, and so on.
You can tell this person's lying because they're giving so much fucking detail.
What happens here, she doesn't have to know. I'll have to make some new friends come September, but
real good way to notice a liar, by the way, guys.
Dudes, Jerry and Dino. They taught me the
see if they give you exact detail. They're
lying.
I
looked up to them, like I would have for my older sister if she wasn't such a drag. They were a gay couple, and they respected me as a friend.
Especially this much detail.
My final realization I was not gay with the help of Jerry and my girlfriend Lisa. Sweet little whore took me in with gratitude on my 14th birthday. She had a few exes from middle school.
Whoa.
My mom was a bondage queen. What? Before that, I had a gay experience in summer camp when I was 7. My bunkmates were experimenting and made me their mofo unwilling guinea pig. I was blindfolded during the entire thing. I can't read this. I seriously can't read this. The next part is basically like
how bad was that part considering the shit we've heard
from summer camp when he was a child. I guess it didn't actually happen because this is the perspective of his troll who he's like making out to be gay. So with that, I was able to
this is a fanfic.
confident in my orientation. Anyway, after moving
this
here,
is Chris's gay fanfic.
Entries from the Chandler Chateau.
Why does he have such detail on that part of all things?
Morning for breakfast at BK and afternoon outings to I don't know where. Barbara appears to come out mostly
maybe Chris wants a bit.
I don't know. And Chris has no set pattern as far as I can tell yet. But I'll post new stuff as I learn them. Some with hopefully embarrassing photographs of Chris as I learn and take. Smell you later, Junior Jenkins, Jinkies. I'm actually speechless as to this. I know I avoided reading a bunch of it. You can look it up for yourself, but it's
I'm not
like summer camp erotica written by Chris. What the is this post? It makes sense for him to make the troll character he's playing kind of gay as a roundabout of attacking, them, but the amount of detail he goes into is beyond disturbing. Did Chris just post like CP erotica? Did any of this happen to him? Is he telling someone else's stories? Did he witness this? I have a lot of questions. I mean, since the forum was a honeypot to begin with, and they knew from the beginning that Jenkins was Chris, how did the trolls feel when reading this? I don't think I want to know the answer to most of these questions, to be honest.
Also, I'm very sure people the age of 7 don't do shit like that.
Chris did not do.
Yeah.
All of his other posts as Jenkins are relatively normal, but that one was more than sufficient to dump buckets of fuel to the already raging fire of rumors that Chris was secretly gay. Around the same time, Alec, the guy behind Aspertune,
is that a secret at this point?
Sweetheart program on Chris via emails, and as their conversations
I think Chris is the only one denying it.
I've had the question of
to
me before, and there are a few.
2 hours and 19 minutes.
Swimming pool to emulate.
Jesus.
So what do you want to do?
Let's do part 2 right here. I'm done.
Alright.
I'm losing brain cells.
Okay, let's call this part 2. Anyway, guys, we thank you very much for watching. My God, this is just brain destroying. I feel like I'm losing brain cells just hearing half of this shit.
I'll be honest. There's points where just like we're starting to zone out, but like not on purpose.
Yeah. just so much stuff this creep has done. Like, really. And thank you to Turkey
Yeah.
Tom for all the details, because my god. Like,
Actually, no, thank you. Cause Jesus.
I mean, no thank you, but, like, also thank you. Like, anyway, guys, that is part 2 for now. We will also make a part 3 very soon once we we get our brain cells back.
Yeah. Well.
But other than that, we thank you for watching. If you could please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you want to catch me and Yasai live, I am GodfatherCMB at twitch.tv/GodfatherCMB.
Twitch.tv/YasaiTheFox. Pay for my therapy bills, please.
Yeah. Or, a switch too would be nice. Hey, what?
And
Sometimes you gotta ask.
a Switch 2 in this economy? Yeah, no.
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, guys, we thank you very much. We will see you next time. Bye-bye,
Bah.
lovelies. Bye.
Bah.
Bye.